Oily and bitter, the lingering odour of burnt flesh lodged in the back of Elliot's throat. If he hadn't known where the smell came from, he might not have thought anything of it. 15 minutes had passed since the first reports had hit social media. 10 minutes since spontaneous combustion had started trending and flagged up on Elliot's searches. Mostly third-hand accounts, but he'd found enough supposed eyewitnesses to convince him it was worth investigating. 7 minutes since he'd left the Weird News office to drive down White Ladies Road and across the city centre to the scene. Now, as he approached the waterside edge of Castle Park, that hint of charred human on the breeze made the whole situation more real. He pressed his lips together, swallowed, and headed closer. A couple of patrol cars were parked on the roadside, alongside a grey Ford Mondeo he suspected was an unmarked police vehicle from the radio equipment visible on the dashboard. Rows of curious people gathered behind railings strung with blue and white striped tape. Some held phones above their heads like digital periscopes, trying to glimpse the focus of all the activity before the daylight faded. People loved a morbid circus. Elliot pushed closer to the front. Beyond the cordon, blue lights flashed from the roof of a police car parked near the bandstand. No sirens, though, which left the park oddly quiet against the background hum of the city. Further in, another police car, 2 ambulances and a white van were parked in a rough circle around a brightly lit white tent, which presumably had hid the remains. A large presence, but then Bristol had been on high alert for violent crime since the shooting last week. He'd missed the initial frantic activity. Now quiet tension held sway. At a break in the railings, where a cycle path entered the park, the police tape looped between several bollards. There, a police officer wearing a stab vest stood with his hands clasped in front of him, chin tilted up as if daring anyone to try something. Elliot sized the man up from a distance. In his 40s, maybe even early 50s, and stuck with guard duty. Couldn't be an ambitious sort, but probably dependable, stoic. The onlookers were certainly giving him a wide berth. Elliot doubted he'd get more from him than an official line, but if he could get the man flustered, something might slip. He extracted himself from the press of bodies and skirted the rear of the crowd. The constable gave him the evil eye as he approached. Should have known you'd turn up at some point. Elliot tried for a friendly but professional smile. Have we met? No, but the inspector warned me about you. Detective Inspector Yates? The man nodded. Now Elliot remembered where he'd seen that particular grey Mondeo before. He could do without crossing paths with Yates again, but he wasn't going to let that stop him. It had been weeks since a story with genuine supernatural potential had broken so close. Mime is currently funding on Kickstarter. You can listen to the rest of the chapter in the project updates.